Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you might be. Welcome to the Black Link Experience. My name is Marva B, and I'm so excited, so honored to have Miss Reece Odum here with us tonight. Reece, welcome to the Black Link Experience. Black Link.
Thank you so much, Marva, for having me here. It's so exciting to be a part of, anything that you have going on. So thank you so much for having me here. And I'm just excited.
Well, thank you. I'm just overjoyed to have you. So thank you so much. I want to go ahead and allow you, if you will, to tell the world who you are and what you do in case they don't know.
Well, if you don't know me, I am Reece Odum, born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I also live in Los Angeles, of course, but I'm an actor, producer, director. I'm a creative. And so, the love of my life has always been, being able to be in front of an audience, telling a story and, being that voice for people who don't have a voice, if you will. So, I've been a part of many independent films that have been, on subjects that have been brushed under the rug, much like domestic violence and or organ donation for minorities. And I've also been privileged to be on, some mainstream films and shows like The Vampire Diaries. I was a regular on that show in season 8, and most known probably for Saints and Sinners as Anita Robinson, because I've been on that for many seasons. And most recently, I was blessed to be a part of a film called Karen that's going to air on BET soon. I'll be brief, but when you're part of the acting world, you understand how things work in terms of film. So you might have this huge piece of or bigger piece of a film, but then once you see it, it's not as big. But I mean, thankfully, I will always be a part of the cast of Karen, and thankfully, you still see me and get a glimpse of what it is that is necessary for my role in this particular film. So I'm excited.
Wow. I was doing my research and it was just so much that you do, so many opportunities that you had and you rocked them. Like I looked at the trailers and I watched as much as I could and I was like, whoa. But let me tell you, yes, let me tell you something about Karen. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. When I saw the trailer, I was like, no, they got to give me more. They got to give me more. I cannot wait. It's going to be amazing.
It's an amazing film that, tells a story or many stories of things that we're familiar with that happened, over the years, if you will, because, our ancestors and different people dealt with Karens, if you will. But I think much of last year, we were kind of, delved into the subject of a Karen because of phone cameras. So, Coke Daniels, the director and writer, took a chance and wrote a film about what was happening pretty much, in our faces last year. And Taryn Manning was brave enough to take on the role of Karen, and she did an amazing job. And, much of the lead cast, Corey Hardig and Jasmine Burke, who's also on Saints and Sinners, and many other people who are part of the film. I mean, it tells the story that I think needs to be told because of the fact that I think whether they're acknowledging the fact that they are those Karens and or if they don't, it brings a certain level of awareness that is necessary to make people kind of think about what it is that they do. Yeah. And maybe regroup and adjust and know, hey, maybe that isn't so great, because whether it's because it's in the forefront or because it was brought to their attention, and as actors, it's our job to do those things. And thankfully, Coke Daniels as the director and writer and Taryn Manning as the lead, were courageous enough to, do those things and bring that to light. So Karen is a story that's very heavy. My role as Officer Smith, the police receptionist, was, not a big piece of the story, but it is something that is necessary to show you the different pieces of what it is that happens in the world of police officers versus, average citizens.
When I got the information about Karen, I wasn't expecting that. Like, I was like, Karen, okay, I was kind of curious. And when I opened it, I was just like, oh my God, I kept playing. I was like, this is so relevant. It's so relevant to what is going on still today.
Yeah, I'm really excited for people to see it. And thank you so much for talking about it.
Yeah, and the lady that played Karen, like she was playing that part. The little bit I saw, she was playing that part. You got to move.
And if you have a chance, if you're graced with the chance of meeting Taryn Manning, who I keep talking about, her name is Karen in the movie, but her real name is Taryn.
Yes.
She put it on Orange is the New Black and so many different huge types of films from Lifetime across the board, across her entire career. But she is such a nice and gracious individual. And she took a lot of heat and a lot of backlash from her own community for doing this film, much like Coke Daniels did with just having the film out there. I mean, the film itself, just with the trailer, was on TMZ and on Wendy and on all of these huge platforms just talking about it, so it had a huge buzz just from the trailer.
Yeah.
Much like you said. But previous even to that and or during that time of 70 million hits, of course, Taryn and Coke, and much of the lead cast got a lot of, DMs and, negative types of emails because, there are a lot of women who have the name Karen and or that are of the other race that, take a huge offense to the name and the coined term of Karen, but it's a very real thing to our community. And Coke, took it upon himself to make it an issue that needed to be heard. So, yeah.
I don't mean to just stay on this one, but it was just really one that just touched my heart. Like, I was like, but kudos to Taryn for taking that part and being strong enough, to take the DMs that are going to come. And here's the deal though, Reece, and you tell me what you think. You can't please everybody and everything.
Exactly.
If we try to please everybody, we will get nothing done. So I think you have to take the plunge and say, we're going to do it or we're not. There's no in between.
No, exactly. Just like you said, I mean, as actors, as storytellers, as producers, as directors, as whomever is a part of filmmaking and the entertainment field, if you will, you're going to have the backlash regardless because there's someone who does not want that story to be told. That's right. Because it is real. Mm-hmm. And thankfully this story is being told and like I said, maybe hopefully it'll bring about a change and an adjustment to those people who feel like, oh, I can make up a story because of who I am, from as far back as, and I'm just bringing up a name that, people might just be familiar with, from Emmett Till to, our ancestors in general, from people just making up stories that aren't real.
Right.
And thankfully, cell phone cameras brought that realization to light, for us to be able to defend ourselves, and or our Black men to defend themselves against those types of people in those situations last year. And it's just, it's like you said, it's something that is our job as a storyteller. And I don't mind you using this as a subject because I think that it is very relevant and important. And I'm glad that we're talking about it. And that's the point of what we do, is to bring some level of conversation about it. You can have the media talking about it, but that's not the necessary conversation that needs to be told when people are, slapped in the face with what it is that they do.
Absolutely. I can't wait till it come out. I hope and pray for Taryn to be sitting on this show one day, because I would love to get her feedback on it and her experience on that. So maybe
she's amazing. She's amazing.
We'll see. So. We'll reach out to her as well. So anyway, let's move on. I want to talk about, Reece, at what point in your life, like from growing up, when did you know it was show business for you? It was the film business. It was movies for you, acting for you.
For me, I probably didn't know it initially. My family knew it, my parents knew it, because I always wanted to be in front of an audience, whatever it was, from, oh, I know that song, I can sing it, to, oh, I want to be a dancer, because I was in ballet, tap, jazz, and point, to playing an instrument, to playing, the cello, to being the cheerleader, to whatever. And they were just like, whoa, like, what is going on with you? And I'm a middle child. So,
I am too.
it wasn't, and people say that, but I don't think that that's necessarily the point. I just, being who I am and what I love to do is performing. I've always felt most alive in front of an audience and being able to express myself in that way. So from those different things that I told you, to when I got a little older, to, pledge a sorority, and I stepped, and then I, did the pageants of Miss America and Miss USA, trying to be Miss Georgia, to, it was just a real gamut of things that I, delved into, and always on a stage just was like, I'm here, and it evolved, of course, into acting, because I think that, being able to express myself in that way, in different ways, was something that I really enjoyed and needed to do, and not everybody enjoys and needs to do that. So my family and my parents have always been my biggest supporters, and thankfully as an adult they're still here and able to see me thrive in what it is that I love to do. And I'm just thankful and blessed that I've been able to make them proud in a lot of the projects that I've been a part of. So from a very young age, without saying that, from a very young age, it was there. I probably realized it in high school, and then kind of like said, no, I want to do this. I was never really sure.
Yeah.
Like I knew I wanted to do those things, but then once I became in my 20s, I knew that I wanted to do it. So there you have it. It started in my 20s.
It was coming. It was coming. How was it? When was it that you got your first role where you thought, oh my gosh, I'm acting, I'm really in a role where this is really, really happening? What was your first gig?
The first role where I felt that way was probably about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, when I first moved back to Atlanta, because I moved to Los Angeles and lived there for some time. And I did a few modeling gigs. So I was on billboards. And if you live in LA, you can still see me on I Watch LA, where it's kind of like a pamphlet and billboards throughout the city. But it was this role that I got from a friend, suggesting me for a role. He knew that this is what I did. He knew that I love to do it. And he was just like, I know you can do it. Just go and be great. And I was like, well, I haven't auditioned for anything since I've been back in Atlanta. What are you talking about? And he was just like, just go and be great. I already told him you're coming, so go do it. And I was like, okay. And so it was for a web series called Lights, Camera, Action. And it was like I guess kind of like a vignette of several different types of stories that the director, Dewey Gerard, who's the director and writer, he's done some really great things over the years on BET and different things like that as well. I did it, and I was the lead of that. So that was where I was like awakened to wanting to be in this career forever, and it was, it was a story. And again, like I tell you, I do a lot of projects that have like this heavy like storyline.
Yes.
So that particular storyline was about an aspiring actor who had to kind of choose between real life versus her career. And her boyfriend was in the middle of that, and he figured out that she chose her career over their life. And so if you were to watch it, it's still on YouTube, I think, but it was like a 10-minute thing, but it really brought to the forefront that, wow, like I'm supposed to be doing this. And then from that point, I got my first role from him in a feature film where it starred myself and Shamia Morton. I don't know if you know her from The Housewives of Atlanta. And and so many other people that I've worked with over the years, but that was my very first one. And after that, I worked with Victoria Rowell and Darren Henson and Carl Payne and so many other people that I can't even like, I never would have thought that and never would have imagined it. And then went on to the Vampire Diaries and so many different things. So it's just like, you know, people think that there are these overnight success stories, right? And sometimes there are. But thankfully, my story is one that I feel like, you know, people will be able to relate to, because it's a gradual progression of the fight and the grind in this business, where you can see that I've been working hard for years. So when that huge big break happens, you know, you'll know nothing but that it's God, you know, and that God's like, hey, it's Reese's time. You guys, everybody knows her across the country, the world. Like, but the crazy part is that I did an independent film where I get emails and DMs all the time from a film that I did on domestic violence from like France and Africa and different things. So I'm already worldwide.
Wow.
It's just, it's a very relevant term of fame, if you will.
Yeah,
it's a relevance that I think that matters within our career that is more important. Am I relevant? Do I do things that I can be proud of?
absolutely.
And I do, and I have, and I'm thankful for that.
And you answered my question where you almost answered the question I was going to ask you. Have you ever, you know, in your run in the business, felt like, you know, should I still be doing this? Like, do they really even care about me? Do I look good enough? Can I really play the part? Am I really good enough? Do you have those moments? And if you do, how do you combat that?
I mean, that's every day. I think that it's an everyday thing in life, you know, even if you're in corporate America to the entertainment field, am I enough? You know, as a Black woman, as a woman of a multicultural background, am I Black enough? Very much Black to the other race, right?
Right.
And so it's like, am I good enough is a common question that I think as life progresses, all of us kind of try to not think about, but it comes from life experience, right? So then you get into a career of whatever, from corporate to entertainment, and entertainment, you hear more no's than you do yes.
We were going to yes.
And so it becomes a question of, as a woman that is of multicultural background, I'm very much Black to our community and the other communities, but in the grand scheme of entertainment, do we want a brown-skinned Black woman? Do we want, it's that question that comes into play. And then it's, okay, well, what do I need to do? Do I need to go get a tan? Do I need to, but that's not the key, And I try to teach my students, because I'm also a acting coach for aspiring actors. And it's all about what's meant for you. Mm-hmm. So what is meant for you? And I've told this to several friends of mine that are now very successful in the business. And I'm like, it's my turn now. But I've told so many and given advice to so many different people that have asked me that question, that it's what is for you, and no one can take that from you.
I believe it to the core.
It's very true. And it's something that I hold on to every day. Yes. And, from, people who are on my team, from Tori to my family, to my agents, Jay Purvis, to whomever, they are always like, Reece, you're doing a great job. We're getting all these auditions. Don't worry about it. It's coming.
Yes.
And they constantly feed into you. So the biggest piece is your level of faith and belief in yourself. Mm-hmm. And then your support system. And that is what will help you sustain pretty much anything in life. And, like, my belief in God
Oh,
You know, I talk about him all the time, and that's the only reason why I'm here with you today. But, you know, that's just period.
yes,
But in addition to your faith,
yes.
it is important to have a great support system and a belief in yourself.
Oh, so yeah, and I think that is so. I have to reiterate the support system because yeah, we have a strong faith in God, and we know that He's who carries us. But every day in our everyday walk, I think He places people in our lives, and He gives us a discernment. If somebody's not supporting us like we need it, they don't get to be in the circle.
Yeah.
Because that brings you down. And I think I wanted to talk about, the business side of this thing where you're always in the industry, whether it's music, whether it's film and TV, you're gonna be told no. And a lot of people walk away from because they don't have enough self-confidence or they don't have that support system saying, no, 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 we can get 1,000 no's, but a yes is coming. And then they don't get to, follow their dreams because they gave up. So
Exactly.
yeah, so I love that I love the thing that you tell your team and your students. What is for you is for you. And it
Yeah.
can't nobody take that. It's gonna happen. What's
Yeah.
not, maybe it's a good thing it didn't happen,
Exactly.
right?
Like when you think, oh man, they cut that down so small that, you know, it's not as much as it was before. It wasn't meant to be any bigger than that because God is saying, and you know, they have that new term that they've coined, nah, it's bigger.
Yeah.
It's bigger than that. So this right here, don't worry about that because the next one is
Yeah.
going to be even bigger. So that's how you have to focus on it. Yeah. And it's real.
Yeah, it's real. So, talking about the business and being in film and being a Black woman, a woman of color, a Black woman. I just interviewed a guy. I'm getting ready to put the interview out who is in the business as well, and has had a good success. Black guy. We
Mhm.
talked about how you just said it. Am I too dark of a Black person? Am I too light of a Black person? What kind of struggles have you had as far as being Black in the business? Not just the tone of if you're light or Black or whatever, but the way people treat you because of how you look. Have you had those experiences?
Um, Thankfully, I haven't yet
Mhm.
that I've recognized. I'll say that.
Okay.
Um, I think that I've been uh, through boot camp, if you will, being
Mhm.
born and raised in the South,
Yeah.
in Atlanta, Georgia. And I went to a predominantly white school for most of my life. So I think I was trained, if you will, to kind of dodge it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've felt it, you know, I think more when I actually worked in corporate America. I
Oh.
felt it more there.
Mhm.
I think that as actors, once we book the job and we're on set, we're just kind of like, I booked the job and
I did it. Yeah.
can't nobody take that from me, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
as long as I do my job, I'm gonna do my job. But within corporate America, when I did that briefly, I felt it, you know, where I think that it's something that has stood the test of time, unfortunately, where the other races have kind of pinned and pegged us against each other
Yeah.
with the colorism issue.
Yeah.
And you know, even though it is there, I mean, don't get me wrong, in entertainment, it's there,
Mhm.
where we might feel like, oh, you know, I wasn't like I told you, I wasn't dark enough, I wasn't this, I wasn't that. But I've never felt on a predominantly white set that I was being treated differently because I was Black,
That's good.
or on the Black set that I was, you know, treated differently because I was lighter, you know. And unfortunately, there are a lot of situations where that happens.
Mhm.
I'm just speaking from my experience and saying that I'm thankful that I haven't, but I
Mhm.
am also thankful for the lessons that I've been taught over the years because of my parents, you know, taking a chance and sending me to a more diverse school growing up,
Right.
that I was never I grew up in a private school that was predominantly Black. I'll say that first. And then I went to a predominantly white school right after that, in 5th grade on. And so that was my realization in life, from the differences, right?
Yeah.
So then once I adjusted
to
the differences, then I was more aware of, oh, everybody's different, and I'm different, and you're different. And I think that it's important to embrace the differences of our race and others. And like I said, because I'm multicultural, I'm very aware and more, I think, sympathetic and empathetic to everyone. And as an actor, I have to be, but thankfully I haven't had those problems.
Hey man, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. So let's switch the tone a little bit. When you're in this business and you feel like, okay, I'm getting a lot of gigs, I'm moving up, I'm leveling up, I need a team. How do you pick a team? Because it's got to be a trust thing, like we said, that support that'll lift me up. How do you go about picking a team, or what would you give your students when it's time for them to pick a team? What advice do you give them?
And I say because that's hard, and it's very case by case, if you will, because everybody's different in how they move and how they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
For me, I honestly pick people and have people around me who know the business even more than me.
Oh yeah, got it.
Or that they literally believe in me. They believe in me probably more than I believe in me.
That's good.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
And that have the wherewithal to push me forward.
Yes.
And that means because of their skill set versus my skill set, that it will always be something that we're building upon, because of the fact that, hey, I might need someone who's always like, okay, what do you have going on, Reece, today? Like, that's Tori for me. You've met her.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what's going on? Do you have auditions? Do you have this? Okay, so you have 5 auditions and you have this interview tonight. And what else do you have? Oh, then you have to go find your wardrobe for this weekend. I need that.
Yeah.
And then in the background, she's also, working towards building me up as well, as opposed to just working with me. She's working for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's the same for my agents. They're working with me and for me. It's like, okay, how do we find the best roles for Reece? How do we find things that will progress her career? You don't want anybody that's going to keep you in the same space.
Right.
You want someone that's going to, like you said, elevate you.
That's right. That was a perfect, beautiful answer, because we need that. And when I talked to Tori, like she's pro Reece, and she wanted to make sure that it was perfect for you. And so those are the kind of people that you want in your corner. So let me ask you this: for you, is it in a movie, on a set, whatever? Is it the plot, the character, or the setting for you?
I think I would honestly say it's all. Okay. When I read it, I have to feel it, and furthermore, it's like with independent films, you're given more of an opportunity at this point to read the full script. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's like when I'm able to read the full script and I see who you want me to be and where she's going and the layers and the levels. Yeah. It's like, oh, if I'm like this, I love it, And I'm really particular about the message. Yeah. And that means a lot to me. Yeah. So, from the film perspective, I'm really very particular about that. From television, I really don't have that much of, I guess, I don't have as much of the story. So when I got things like Anita Robinson, from Saints and Sinners, I didn't know much about her, but that she was a news anchor, right? Yeah. But over the years, it was like, okay, I'm not a news anchor, by the way, never have been trained or am one. but
Right.
I tend to get those roles a lot, you know, and I guess I look like one to some people. So I've done that quite a few times, but then like this season, season 5, which you can actually now view on Hulu, you can view
Uh-huh.
all the seasons from 1 to 5 on Hulu. And I've been on quite a few of those seasons up until now. Yeah, like she got to play and have more fun this season. And I
Good.
was really thankful and blessed for that because, you know, as an actor, you kind of prove yourself a little bit more and more each time
Yeah.
with certain sets and writers and producers. So once they're like, oh, well, Reese can do that, surely she can do this, you know, whether they've seen my other work or not, because I have a huge, you know, a huge like reel that they can watch. But finally, this season, you get to see a little bit more of what it is that I can do. And so um, when I'm able to play, I enjoy that more. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's fun. I've always been interested, Reese, in seeing how it's put together, right? So
Yeah.
you get a script,
Uh-huh.
and you gotta step into, say, Natasha or whoever the person is, right? You gotta
Yeah.
be that person. Is it hard for you to turn that off when you're offset? I've heard people say, it's kind of hard for me to get back to Reese or get back to Martha. How does
Yeah.
that?
I mean, I think depending on how heavy the role is, I think that the times that I've played people who were, uh, like you said, Natasha. Natasha was in a film called Smoke,
Oh, yeah.
and she was a very cutthroat, potty-mouthed attorney. but but I enjoyed her. Like
Yeah.
she was, you know, it was about a very true story
Uh-huh.
out of Detroit, which was very heavy and unfortunate in how it turned out for the families of the story.
Yeah.
But that role, she was, and I was playing opposite of one of my really good friends, Blue Kimball, who you've probably seen on
Yes.
different
Uh-huh.
days,
Yes.
and he and people have seen he and I as a couple. They've seen us as a very loving couple in The Wish, and
Yes.
then they got to see us as, you know, prosecuting and defending attorneys in that particular film. And it was so fun and real because in real life he gets on my last nerves at times, and so and so, you know, you go from being a loving and endearing couple, and I was like, can you just touch my face a little softer? I'm not your friend. You don't have to slap me, you know. And so it's like to this where it's like, oh, we get to curse each other out. That's real. Let's do it.
Let's just get it
So
on right now. Yeah.
it's it's a fun, that's why you see, and I say this a lot, that's why you see a lot of actors in certain films that work together a lot
Yeah.
because they probably suggest them. It's so easy to work with people, you know, you trust them. I
Right.
don't care what it is that I do in a film that we worked in quite a few together. He knows how to bounce off of whatever it is that I do. It does,
Yeah.
and
Good.
it plays off so real.
Yeah.
And that's fun, you know, but to get out of certain characters like Natasha or even Tracy, that was a domestic violence film, or, you know, I also, what was her name? Jasmine, and another
Jasmine in the
film,
last time.
The
Yeah.
Last Time, yeah, with Tommy Ford and
Yeah.
Charmin Lee and different people. One of my really good friends, Tiffany Hill, she wrote and produced that one. It's really hard because those are not situations that I've dealt with. So
Mm.
to bring a certain level of authenticity
Oh,
to
wow.
those roles, I have to either talk to people who've been through it,
Mm.
substitute it for friends or family that may have gone through it, put myself in that situation in a way that makes myself uncomfortable
Mhm. Mhm.
so that I feel what it is that those characters feel.
Yeah.
And from a remembering perspective, and I talk about it all the time in a lot of interviews, so people have probably heard this before, but
Mhm.
when I played Tracy in Imprisoned by Love
Yes.
many years ago,
Mhm.
they bruised my face up and, you know, was ready for a scene.
Yeah.
It was a late shoot, so
Yeah.
I left and I didn't let them take it off, and I had to get gas. And I
Uh-oh.
remember getting out of the car, like, listen, I had bruises everywhere.
I,
Like,
I can imagine. Yeah.
yeah, and it was very real. The person who did it, she did great makeup.
Yeah.
I just remember getting out of the car, like me as Reece, starting to pump the gas. And the minute I pumped it was when I became Tracy again and was like, I was embarrassed.
Oh,
I
wow.
felt her. I felt like, oh my God, like, what
Wow.
are people thinking of me? And it was a very real moment because it made me more aware of how women and men in those situations must feel
That's
if they're unable to hide those scars and those bruises. And I remember doing this, like trying to hide it, and because I was already out there and
yeah.
I didn't know what to do. So I was like,
Oh,
and
that's a
I get
real
emotional.
moment. That's a
Yeah,
real
and
moment.
I
Like the
can't tell you how
tears.
emotional.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I got sensitive for a little bit. Yeah.
just imagine it, because you have so many people who, men, and I say people because men and women alike,
Yeah.
deal with those domestic violence situations, and they hide it
Yeah.
because they know it's there, and they make sure that you don't see it. It's under makeup, or it's under whatever. In that moment, I was very vulnerable and very open without even trying.
Yes.
And that was very early on in the filming process of that film. And that's the film where I tell you, people, like, literally, they watch it on the platform that it's on right now, and they, from all over the world,
Yeah.
literally, they
Yeah.
say thank you for doing this. And I'm like, I never realized how impactful that particular film would be,
Mhm.
but I did in that moment realize how impactful that role was on me.
Wow.
So
That's interesting. And it was so real when telling it. And the moment you said then you became Tracy again, it's like I felt your pain because
mhm,
you don't know what individuals go through.
yeah.
Diverse roles. You say they really kind of careful about how they pick your role for you. Has there ever been a time where you're like turned it down, like I can't, or are you not in a place to turn something down? Because I know I talked to a child actor, her mom was there and was really fun, and she was like, and she's really successful, but she was like, we just right now are not turning a lot, we're not saying no to things. So what is your take?
Um, there have been roles where I've said no.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm very big on my family.
Yes.
I'm not married and I don't have kids, but my nephews are
Yes.
my like my kids, and my parents, thank God, are still alive and living, and my grandmother. And I like to be able to share those moments with them, if that makes any sense. So in my mind, when I think of my career, I want it to be something that I can truly share with my family across the board,
Yes.
right? Now there are roles that I've taken, much like Natasha,
Uh-huh.
and the roles of the domestic violence that are not necessarily censored enough for children,
Right.
but the stories need to be told.
Yeah.
Those are stories that I think bring awareness in a way that is necessary. If I feel like the story makes sense for
Mhm.
me to be in a certain situation and a certain and viewed in a certain light, then
Mhm.
sure. If I feel like it's realistic, sure. But
Yes.
there are certain things that in the past, there's certain roles where I was like, sure, this is for a Black person, but what is the point? What is the relevance? Why? Why would I want to portray my people in this way? What
Right.
is the point of this story? Is it a story that is a period piece that is telling something, or is it just where someone's writing is thinking this is funny, and or thinking that this is how certain people talk or how certain
Mhm.
people act? I never want to be seen as someone who's mocking
Yes.
anyone. And
Yes.
so, like, if I feel like that when I'm doing it, I don't do it. I'm
Yeah.
just like, you know what? If I don't believe me, you won't believe me. So let's just move
That's
on.
true. That's true.
Like, and I think that that's important because it's your business as an actor is what you do.
Yeah.
So what you choose to do, it lasts and it stands the test of time. It's on film.
Yeah.
So
You can
I
always get it
think
back. You can also say,
exactly
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't, and especially in the age of internet,
That's
you
right.
really you get nothing back
It's out there.
from auditions to anything. So
Yeah.
you can bet on the fact that you won't see me on anything that is very revealing,
Yeah.
unless the story is about someone who went through something to get to elevate.
Yes.
Like, I'm about progression.
Right.
So if she went through that briefly and that was a part of her story
Uh-huh.
and it's within reason,
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna be out there just like,
Yeah. You can have it all. Yeah.
that's I mean, like, I feel like those stories need to be told, but I feel like they're actors that will
For
do
that.
it. So
Yeah.
I don't knock them because it does give them what they want. And hey, if they're comfortable, I'm happy for them.
And everybody's different, you know. Yes,
Yeah.
I'll say no to something. There's some interviews that I just say no. Like,
Yeah.
no, I just can't, you know. And I've learned from that because I was in the beginning just taking stuff, and it really had put me in a bad place. I'm like, that is not even who I am. Like, it changed my whole being. And I was like, I can't. And so I had to rebrand and revamp and come back to where I was.
And you have to. It's important.
It's important for me to remain grounded in who I am. I have a daughter, you know, and it matters to me. And I have a son, and it matters when they see me, you know, what my mama doing, you know, or my mom, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who's she talking to? What's she talking about?
And why? Because I went through that. Why are you covering that? Why are you covering that story? And I was like, oh God. And that woke me up right there. And I was like, rebrand. You were in smoke. We talked about a couple of these. The last time, the secret she kept.
Yeah.
What love will make you do. You were Kim. Mr. Right. Michelle. The Wish. We talked about The Wish. Life's Journey and Vampire. I mean, we could go on and on. My question is, what do you feel has been your greatest achievement to date, or your best work, if you can pinpoint that?
Honestly, I feel like my biggest accomplishment is being able to do films that, like I told you, really tell stories that matter. My biggest accomplishment has been doing and taking on the independent films that, you know, talk about minority organ donation, like The Wish, or domestic violence, like The Last Time, and In Prison by Love. But, you know, choosing and kind of sculpting my own like work of art, you know, like I feel like I honestly, from the first web series thing that I did in Atlanta till now, I feel like God has like literally been my agent. It has been something that has truly allowed me to grow as a person and as an individual in this particular career and industry, and understand what is necessary to truly be an actor and a storyteller. So my biggest accomplishment has been able to be proud of what it is that I've done, you know,
that matters.
And to share that experience and what I've learned and been privileged to through the different people that I know and or the works that I've done, to share that with my students and different people that ask me questions. So, you know, I'm just really, I honestly, and I know it sounds cliche, but I'm so thankful and grateful for the work that I've been allowed to do in this business, because, you know, to be a working actor is truly an honor. And I'm thankful that the stuff that I've done, like you said, is something that I can actually share with you. It's not something that is like, oh, don't watch that.
You don't have to go delete everything you've done.
Yeah. Like, please take that down,
Yes. Yeah. So the Trumpet Awards, first of all, Atlanta loves Reese. Atlanta loves you. They love you, Reece Odum. But the Trumpet Awards, which is always in Atlanta most of the time, but I caught you in California.
Yeah.
Tell me, and it means something. Tell me why that is so special to you to attend. You said at that time it had been about 5 times.
Yeah, I'm, like I said, I'm born and raised here in Atlanta, and the Trumpet Awards is something where it actually, brings about some type of achievement and an accolade to people who do things in the community that matter, and the things that you do outside of things that you want for fame and for clout. You're doing this from the goodness of your heart.
Love it.
And Zanona and all the different people who put that together, it's a very prestigious award, if you will, for me, from the real and old Atlanta, because we can talk about how Atlanta is now versus what we're known for and what we're working back and towards to be, and the Trumpet Award speaks to just that. And I've been invited for many years, and my father was and is always the person who goes with me in Atlanta. And when I went to LA for it, that was huge because that's my second home. And unfortunately, Dad couldn't go with me that year, but one of my best friends, she went with me.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm thankful that is actually being put on a different platform where people can actually acknowledge it and give it and the people who created it the accolades that are necessary, because there are not very many awards that are there for people who are doing things for the community and our community, if you will. And it's necessary to bring those things, to the forefront, so more people will want to be a part of those particular types of, community service efforts. I think it's necessary.
Necessary. I love it. I'm always about giving. My thing is I want to serve others, give, because that's our greatest reward, is to serve others genuinely, not for any accolades, not for anything back in return, but from my heart. I want to serve people and, less fortunate people or whoever, as long as I'm serving in my community. So I loved that. I wish I could cover that sometime. I'm putting that out in the atmosphere.
Oh, you will.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
And then the last question, and we're gonna get you out of here. How difficult or not is it to become have a union membership, or do you have to have one to be an actor? I don't even understand. I don't know about that.
Okay, so to be a part of SAG-AFTRA, which is our union as actors and creatives,
right.
It is not necessarily very difficult to be a part of it or to be eligible to join. It's just being a part of a project in a certain way, meaning if you get a role that's speaking, and or if you get, say, for instance, a background role where you're a part of a group and you guys are saying so many lines in the background, you can get eligible to be a part of SAG, right? So for an actor who's a speaking actor versus a background actor, speaking actors, you can be just in one film that's SAG, that's actually covered and protected by SAG, and you're eligible. Now, if you are in California, once you get so many hours and so many projects, if you will, as a part of SAG projects, it's required for you to join in California, state of California. And I'm only speaking of the states that I'm familiar with. State of California. If I lived in California, my resume would qualify me and require me to join, and it'll be a must join. In Atlanta, Georgia, it's a little different because of different policies, if you will, and standards. You can be eligible here for however long. You could be eligible for,
sorry.
yeah, I can't see who it is, but
It's my husband. He just
yeah, you can be eligible for to be a member, but not be a must join in Georgia. So if you work on so many projects that are SAG, so say somebody works on all these Tyler Perry films and projects and they speak or they whatever, there's nothing that requires them to join in Georgia.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, not yet. They haven't done that yet.
Right.
That's only because the I think, and I'm not speaking from an actual factual point, because a lot of the work in Georgia that a lot of actors tend to get are day player and supporting roles that aren't necessarily making as much money as the main character roles. Mm-hmm. So to join a union, it's usually like a few $1,000s to join a year. So you want to have something where once people do big roles, that's typically where everybody joins, because then you get insurance, it's a lot of things that go along with it.
Okay.
But if you're able to do it, you can do like, and in Georgia, if you have an eligibility, you can join and do it in a way where you're joined and you're not paying as much. Okay. It's a way to do that. Right. But nonetheless, it's not that hard. Just work towards it. If you're doing non-union work, you're never going to get it. Right. Like, say in terms, if that's all you do. Yeah. But you can do both in Georgia is the point with an eligibility. And, if you're not joining, but you're eligible and you can still do non-union, you can work both.
I thought that was a pretty big deal. I hear a lot of actors talking about that. And I was like, I gotta know that. What is that about?
It protects you. It protects you. Make sure you get paid residuals. It makes sure you get paid, certain. Yeah, it's just something that protects you, just like any other union.
Right. Yeah. And then have you ever thought about working for Tyler Perry or trying out or auditioning for any of those?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I've been auditioning for Tyler for years. One day he'll like, find the perfect role for me. I'm just knowing that and believing and praying that he's just had this perfect role for me that's gonna come, and he's just waiting. That's
it. That's it.
Like, he's not yet, Reece. Not yet. Because when I tell you I've auditioned for that man hundreds of times, not him personally, but for his shows. Yeah. It's coming. It's coming, Marvin. Don't worry.
It's coming, and I can't wait to see you there. I can't wait to see you. Yeah.
No, my parents would love that too. That's the funny part.
Oh, I bet.
It's more for them than anything.
Yeah. Well, Reece, I want to thank you so much for going over your time. I'm sorry it went so long, but I enjoyed the conversation. I appreciate you being here and sharing with the world, especially about Karen. We can't wait to see Karen. Go ahead and tell the people how they can reach you and how they can follow you on social media.
Okay, well, like I tell everyone, you can reach me on any social media platform, and that is Reece Odum. And that's ReeceOdum. That's Reece with a C and Odum with a U. No relation to Lamar. You can find me everywhere that way. So again, ReeceOdum. And you can find me everywhere that way. And my website, of course, is the same. It's www.reece-odum.com.
Yeah, and your website is beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so you guys, thank you so much for being here. Leave your comments, ask questions in the comments. We'll be glad to monitor that. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Remember to respect yourself and respect each other. God bless.